Alright, let's see if we can come up with a topic. That is really loud. Let's see here. No, oh, that's a good thing. Just because I think if you're smarter than most people, or if you think you're smarter than most people, it doesn't always mean it is you are, or it doesn't mean it always means you are, or it doesn't mean just because you have enlightenment or something to share with the world doesn't mean that thing doesn't come with problems. I mean, because the way you got to, or the way you get to certain, certain points in, the way you get to certain points and stuff like that, let's see here, it can mean a lot of different things to one person if you decide to live life a certain way. But I think what it means to the person who is your significant other, I think it means more to that someone you're sharing your life with, I guess. And I think the ways that people start to start to build their God damn it. I just gotta go get these souls and I'm gonna come back and run back down. And we go to get some better armor. I think, because I mean, still have a few problems, even though I boast about knowing about psychology and things like that. It's only literally because sometimes when I was younger, I pondered a lot, and then that pondering led to me reading books about a lot of different things, and also, not only did that pondering lead to stuff, it also led to some problems. I realized that I enjoyed learning stuff without reading sometimes more than a lot of people, and I know that leads to problems sometimes. It can lead to not being able to work well with teams or work well with others. Sometimes it can lead to not being able to think about something without some sort of stimulant or variable in play, I guess. It's like the march of your own drum basically keeps you going sometimes, or not the bang, the bang of your own drum keeps you going sometimes. And that's, I think, when people go through something traumatic, they don't realize that whenever they go through something traumatic, they need to be able to talk about themselves, to be not only to be able to try to make something better for themselves, but nice. But also to make sure that something is is better analyzed by someone who hasn't, or not hasn't, but who can understand that those problems or those traumatic experiences better sometimes. Or even if, like, to say the other night, I had a dream about an imminent, or I guess it wasn't really an imminent, because it wasn't really mentioned in the dream, but I felt as though that a zombie apocalypse was imminent. And so we held up in, like, I'd say 3 or 4 different locations that were adjacent to each other, and I said that I was going to dig an underground tunnel connecting all of them. And then I think the dream didn't really go anywhere because I mean, they didn't really have a plan for it, you know. It's like I'm going to be playing things by ear if I ever go through a zombie apocalypse, or if anyone ever goes through any sort of apocalyptic sort of situation. You're playing it by what happens in order to be able to understand what will happen to you, or what not will just happen to you, but and that speaks a lot to my character, I think. Or to my own thoughts of whether or not things will stay together. And not to say that I'm paranoid or anything like that. I'm just mentally trying to prepare myself because I'm waiting to get disappointed, you know? And that's like the hugest disappointment ever, is there's an apocalypse or something. And when I was a kid, I didn't realize the gravity of a lot of different situations that I would say. A lot of different, not just the gravity of a situation, but how it pertains to everyone else, basically. I don't know what I intended to accomplish. I had a freak out maybe a couple of weeks ago, and it was a night, so there wasn't like anybody around really. But I wound up throwing my cigarettes down, and I realized that I wanted to quit, and that I really wanted to make sure that people understood that or that I understood that this is temporary, and that I just need to find something that carries my attention all the way through my life, about my life. And I'm tired of, like, I know it sounds possibly aloof or transient, but it's like I want to travel, you know. I want to go to different places, and I want to make something for myself that that other people, I guess, don't have, but I mean, but I want to be able to create something that I know
I'm glad to see you're well.
Exists in a realm to where I can make a better situation last for I gotta do this, yeah, I'm gonna get Paid's trousers. Let's go Paid's trousers, goes to her.
I'm always here, so come and see me when you're in town. Yes. How may I help you?
Um, I think that a lot of times whenever I go through something and I freak out or have some sort of fit of anger, I'm around people and it's like it's not just it's not me trying to take my anger out or emotions out on someone. It's not me trying to delve into something a little bit more. It's more like I feel as though something or someone, not like not like maybe like an entity, I guess, and that's what it feels like to have schizoaffective disorder, I guess.
Be safe.
To have like an entity basically controlling your every thought or movement, and or not movement, but your thoughts, and that triggers emotions that can kind of delve into the darkness or the dark parts of what people believe in. And everyone likes to paint their pictures about what they believe in and stuff like that. But I don't think a lot of times I've believed in those sort of situations. I mean, I don't think that's not a lot of times I believe in. Maybe the situation, I guess, I never thought of a situation or an entity, I guess, being the master of my domain. I've never thought of I mean, my mom was the master of my domain until I was 18, and that's basically the only person that has basically been the master of my domain. But I don't think that I'll allow emotions to well up inside of me. I think that it's more like I'm not allowing emotions, but thoughts that I'm allowing myself to go down the rabbit hole with. You know, like not like bad thoughts, but just it's like that's what it is. It's random access memories, basically. It's like if one action happens, then one action doesn't happen. And I think that a lot of times what I do as for myself, I found that the more I try to build a thought and or a thought pattern, the more my thought patterns start to make a it's a very buildable future, I guess, you know. But also, as that future is buildable, I kind of want to be able to be lazy, you know. It's like it's like not to say that I'd always want to be lazy or something like that, but I'd want to be able to have time to myself to be able to clear my thoughts and clear my head. And this is kind of not really just that time. I kind of have that time every time I think about the let's see, I think about that every time I I muster up the courage to say that I like a woman, or to say that I think that someone is cool, or to say that I think that someone could be a good friend, or I think that I start to gain courage after I realize something, and that I think that that's the reason why I don't want to build those thoughts. I want those kind of experiences to rack up naturally, and that because I pull them apart in my mind sometimes. I pull those thoughts apart. I try to, as I built those thoughts, I try to realize that if those thoughts I built about that person or around that person, trying to say that that person was or is any it's basically, I think, my mind trying to take someone off the pedestal of of a of an honorable person, I guess, because I know that everyone has their own past and lives their own future life or self or thing at all, you know, and I think a lot of times, whenever I used to act like I knew more than I did, I think the more I picked up myself and started moving, didn't think I was ready for that part. But yeah, I just got over being sick, and it's the reason why my voice is so kind of wiry, I guess. But also it's probably because I strained my voice too, I guess. I don't know. Not really strained it, but I don't know. It's okay. But most of the time, whenever I think about where my life stands, or where I stand on a singular issue, it tastes like coffee, even though I didn't drink coffee. It's pretty good. I just burped up a little bit of beer, and I think it was beer and brownie. I had a brownie and I had a beer, and it tastes like coffee. It's pretty good. All right. I'm sure it's not the actual like composition of what coffee is, hopefully, but a lot of times where I put myself inside of a certain full constitution, of a certain kind of thing that I'd make for myself, I'd try to be the most. I'd try to be the person that knew the most, but also knew the least, because I know situations can change. I'm not like acting like I know everything, but I know that situations change, and I know that even physics can change. So there's not a lot of things that people can do about that. But I mean, I think that also too, I've basically made a let's arrest this bonfire. I basically made a typecast for myself within what people have actually thought about me, I think, and I don't like it, and that's, I think, the reasons why I get angry about things is or the basis, or the baser thought for my anger, not exactly its trigger, but I think that's the thought that I promote sometimes whenever I'm actually having an angry moment, and are the reasons why I go back to smoking cigarettes or stupid shit sometimes, or maybe drinking a little bit of alcohol. But I noticed that a lot of times too, I've based my own merits on on trying to build a kind of a better future for myself, and within that future start to start to make a buildable remedy, I guess. Because if I can build a remedy to the things in the world that cause me fear or anguish, then I know I can take it apart and use it for any situation. Trying to come up with positive reasons and positive ways for me to be able to use those things that I build up, that take apart and build every single time that I either meet someone or come to a new situation. A lot of times, though, I've found that the bigger parts of what I actually believe aren't just nice sorcery ahead. They're not like, it's like, I don't know, I'm trying to come up with a simpler way of saying this stuff. Hang on. Something easy to remember, I think, is probably the best thing for me. When I come to a new situation, I like to make like a hash mark, or like a mental hash mark, and to be able to realize that if I ever come to a situation like that ever again, I'll never treat it the same way twice. Because I know that the simplest answer of that situation being around me, if I don't want that situation, the best reaction for me to be able to have is to just not say anything. But also, that doesn't happen a lot. It happens to be the fact that people get insensitive sometimes, and when they get insensitive, they try to force their will on people. And when they do that, they try to then act like their will isn't something that is forced. I guess. I don't know. I don't get sometimes what people do, because I'm kind of aloof to it. I don't make lists, you know. I don't try to make lists in my head, you know. I don't try to count the amount of times someone has pissed me off, because I like to give them chance after chance after chance to try to, not to try to screw me over, but I hope, and I reassuredly try to be able to, sorry, I just touched my mic. I really try to think about the best in people. And I think that's kind of one of my forgiving qualities, but also one of my damning qualities too. Because once I stop giving someone the chance, I just stop. Like, I just stop. Like, it's really damning to me to be able to figure out how someone has made a staple in this world to just, it's like, it's hard for me to believe that person is just out there to annoy someone. It's hard for me to believe that, and it's even harder for me to believe that person would do the same thing twice, like, or the same thing 3 or 4 times, seeing as how people like to, I mean, they like to realize certain things. You know, they like to do certain stuff, you know? They like to be a certain person. But as you start to realize that the uncertainty of things, it really does pick up a part of myself that kind of sees the world as, that sees the world as it shouldn't be. But I mean, but in most cases is. It's like I don't want to picture a part or a possibility that things don't work out. How's it going? Viewer, if you would like to message me, you can. I would like to not think about the situations in which I find that a person is having ill will or that towards me or anyone else that I know. But I know that I know that I'm not a saint. I know that that my friends aren't saints either. I know that saint is basically a pedestal, and when you prove that person wrong, that pedestal is removed forever, and that person never looks at you the same. And though I also know that sometimes maybe they're not putting you on a pedestal, but they're just trying to figure you out, you know? It's not the look on someone's face that makes you feel as though you're better. It's the thought, I think, that grazes the subtext in their mind that says this person is trustworthy. That makes kind of me feel that, it makes me sense that the situation or the relationship in any case is going well, you know? So it's not like, and it's not like I can sense that. It's like I'm giving off, that person gives off the body language and or the word of, hey, I kind of think you're cool, and I think you're trustworthy, and I think you're awesome, and I really think that you're a good person, and it's like it's hard to say that about anyone you meet without first experiencing what they can go through or how they go through something. And I think once you realize that, or once you understand that that person is not within themselves trying to experience the world. It's not like they're not taking the world for granted, because when they see the world for what it is, they're more adept to do something about it, or to say something about it, rather than just to try to realize that a trauma or that hurt or that even abuse would be the theme of the world, I guess. I don't really think that that's the case. I think that the theme is merely just effect and cause and causation. And I think that effect might have more of a causation, or a positive causation, if it were to be used as a God damn it, stupid little things. I want to tighten that shard. He's gone. God damn it. All right. I'm just lecturing, I guess, but I think that the more you see a situation for what it is, damn it. As in, my dad used to say this all the time, and I think I'm just repeating to repeat, but god damn it, no, god damn it, okay. I think when you see a situation for what it is, when it's like, when not the veil or anything ever is to be put over to your eyes or anything like that, but when you see the situation of a person's body language, you see what they want, how they want it, the way they want it, and the way that they're willing to get it. Or in a situation dealing with a person, or dealing with a situation, whether or not that person is willing to go through it peacefully or go through it willfully bullheadednessly, I guess. I don't know how to say exactly that. But I think after a few different tries of trying to be yourself and trying to say, not only do you, or do I guess, do I wish to put up my hat in situations like that? But I also kind of realized that if I would have enjoyed the situation a little bit more, or if I would have just put on a happy or smiling face, I guess not a sarcastic smile or anything like that, then I think the situation could have gone a lot better, or even a lot better for both parties. But as I start to realize that it doesn't matter what your intentions are sometimes. It matters how things come off, you know? It's like I can smile at someone any day of the week. And I have a big smile sometimes. Like it's when my jaws relax and things like that, sometimes it's cheek to cheek, and I guess too it's like, I guess to what effect it's like is like seeing someone smile that like, I guess, big, or in a certain way, or in a certain situation after they just experienced something mind-wrenching. It can come off a little bit demented, I think. And as it comes off a little demented, the more I think about it, the more I kind of pull back and try to see a situation for what it is before I go. Not like, it's not like every action has an equal but opposite reaction, I guess, within the social constructs of a person's imagination. Obviously, I mean, but as I kind of see a situation for what it is, as in I see a person's intentions and what they're willing to do to be able to get something from someone else, or what they're willing to be able to do as far as being polite, being degrading, being stupid, being any sort of in-between emotion, I guess, to someone, just to be able to make sure that that person doesn't or does come through with what they want. I've noticed that most of the times, whenever someone has taken the blame for something someone else has done, like in certain situations that I've talked about, and how honorable I can be, but technically speaking, I'm not the most honorable person in the world. Obviously, I'm not Superman, but I mean, I've made it clear that that there is only so much that I can actually take, as far as being like the guy that says, hey, this is enough, or hey, it's time to leave, or hey, it's time to go, you know, like, you guys need to head it on out to the outside, you know, right on the outside, just go outside and don't come back the whole night, because you threw up on the patio and I saw it and you guys are drunk. That's where I think a lot of times people think that they're kind of impervious to guilt, I guess, or impervious to a fault, I guess. And I think that's the reason why I kind of said goodbye to that kind of behavior, and goodbye to that kind of stuff. I mean, it's not to say that I'm like the most mature now or something, but I've learned all I can learn, you know. And I think most of the time when when I actually think about the most situations that I've been through, I'd say that what's the proper actual terms for what I'm trying to say? I'd say that the more that I saw someone for who they were, the more that I saw situations for what they were, and the more that I saw people decide to do something that was either unhealthy, completely stupid, yeah, fucked up. Goddamn. Or just ill-advised. And in certain situations, that's kind of where I kind of just wind up not giving a fuck anymore. You know, it's like whenever you think that there's supposed to be a team out there, you're supposed to be a team. And I'm not saying this because I'm like lacking in maturity. I'm just saying that no, when you have dudes that are like, how can I spin this to make it look like I'm doing the best job ever, instead of how can I do the best job ever? I mean, granted, I've never worked with a union or anything like that, or worked with any of that stuff. Like, I've never basically had a retainer on myself, though I know people who have. I've often thought that that people either put too much importance on something or say that they put too much importance on something. It's like that's the way that they want to live, basically putting false importance on something that could barely feed them in the first place. Or not to say that it could just barely feed them, but the amount of effort they were putting into it basically was getting them reprimanded and reprimanded and reprimanded and reprimanded at something. And then instead of saying, I'm sorry for being this douchebag or this idiot or this dumbass, they just went down the rabbit hole with it. And rabbits aren't as kind as people might actually think. Especially, I mean, they really shouldn't be going down a rabbit hole with a certain positive and or negative consequence, because it kind of it basically builds their it's not anything about, I guess, character that it builds. It's more like you're just building a separatist emotional ball of wax that you're gonna smoke later and then cough your effing brains out because it's too much to handle, you know? It may seem like there's some sort of a pivotal moment, I think, that in your life or in a person's life where they build on a capital, and that capital just so happens to be something that they the capital just so happens to be something that they perceive as like, say for instance, you're like, hey, I want to be this thing, I want to do this stuff, I want to go here, and I want to be as talented as this person on this amazing video game and or movie. You agree to the terms of being that person for a day or how many days, whatever you decide to be able to take on that responsibility. And you want to take on that responsibility, but you don't realize the training in which it has to happen. You don't realize every part of the training that needs to happen. Every single part of training that gets you to the point to where you're able to deal with situations that could arise at any moment and literally have been known to kill people, or been known to maim people, or been known to basically just... It's like the realization of fact that you're not ready is the biggest situation that you need to realize in fact. Because if you, once you realize you're not ready, then you realize you'll never be ready. And that's not a horrible thing. It's not a horrible thing to not be ready. What's horrible is thinking that you're ready and not knowing. Because as you start to realize certain situations, as you start to understand certain situations around you, you'll start to realize that no, you don't know what's going on. You don't realize what's going on. Not even people who have studied for 20 to 30 years sometimes know what's going on in a certain case, because they haven't decidedly just studied sociology, psychology, and all of the things that they need to study in order to be able to realize people's behavior and understand that sometimes it's not always the behavior that's making the situation. It's the situation sometimes that's creating the behavior, and then the behavior itself is making the situation amplified. So as you understand that, like, repeating the same phrase over and over again may piss someone off, but it'll also get them out of situation than if they're beating their girlfriend or punching a certain person that you don't want them to punch. You just keep repeating the same phrase until their anger gets pointed towards you. So, yes. Yeah, I'm watching it. Calm down. Hold on. Alright. I'm going to go watch Deadpool 2. And it's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. And hopefully I'm Joe Bomb Squad. And that's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. And you realize that even though you have to realize that your authority stops things. And if you are a person of authority, and just being there, just being in a certain situation, or just understanding a certain person's motives in a certain thing, you'll be able to realize the entirety of a situation that has been there to be able, that is there to be able to make sure, let's see, that a situation doesn't arise too far out of control, out of your control and the control that you have to be able to guide that situation into someone's mental psyche, to be able to make them think that it's easier or more warranted to be able to walk outside and do whatever they're doing, not inside of the place that you reside or the place that you're currently working at. And even then, they'll start to realize the situation that they were thinking of in their own mind was only because of a certain situation that they thought was amplified by a certain person's behavior, and the situation itself basically amplified because they showed no self-control. And once they breathe the air of the outside and realize that it's not that big of a deal, or once they realize that sometimes they pump oxygen inside of clubs to be able to make sure that people can have a good time, but sometimes that oxygen can go to certain areas like a man's penis, and then him think that a bunch of women are trying to be on him, and then they realize that he has a boner, and then they walk away, and then he gets angry and then goes and punches the dude because of some sort of bullshit. That's the reason why they shouldn't do it. They should only do it in card places, because the realization of fact is that when you're having oxygen You're having a good time. But also realize that in certain situations, people should look at a situation first before they actually react to it. If they want a certain situation to go the way they want it to, if they think that a situation is the way they want it to be, then they should first look at a situation like that. Like, look over to the dude to your right. Look over to the dude to your left. If you're in an audience, look over to the person that's having a great time. Look over to the person that's talking on their phone. Don't say anything. You don't have to. Just pour water on them. It's fine. Because they have their phone. They'll be very angry, and then they'll have to leave to get dry. No, I'm just playing. You should call, like, a person from the front desk to be able to tell that person that they have to go. But, understandably so, you are your own metaphorical one-man bomb squad, or one-woman bomb squad, or one undefined gender bomb squad. No matter who you are, no matter what you are, realize this, everyone's going to have their views. Everyone's going to have the way that they want to do things. And the way that they want to do things changes sometimes every single day. And the more you realize that, the more you understand that no, it's not some pattern that you have to understand. It's not some situation that you need to realize. It's go into it with a blank slate. Go into it with a blank slate and try to take as many notes as possible, because every situation can be completely different. And the more you realize it, the more you realize that blank slate kept you from being involved in the situation, and also kept you from being a complete victim because of that situation. You'll start to realize that that person themselves is an individual. And the more you realize and understand and check that that person or those people are individuals, the more you'll start to understand and realize that no situation actually does repeat itself. Only certain patterns that we ourselves create in our own constructs of society do actually completely and utterly repeat themselves. Only because sometimes they're needed to further not a plot, but a social construct. So realize that. And have a good day. So that was a good topic. And you are that person who you think you are, except you're not really this character. I'm not really this character, and I'm going to get a camera eventually, but I'm going to need some capital first. I need to start selling some mugs or some t-shirts. I have a vinyl press. I can make them myself, but I just haven't gone around the time to it. Been smoking too many cigarettes. Have a good day.